You and I could be standing out in front of the same hotel and schedule an Uber to go to the exact same airport at the same time, and I could be charged more than you because of my profile. Even if we were to do DoorDash, you're going to pay maybe less than me or more than me for the exact same thing at the exact same time on that app. And it's all based off of the data points that is being collected by this thing. The location of where you're at. If they've determined that you're expecting a child, which they can determine, data brokers can determine that, because all of a sudden you're on Amazon shopping for, a baby crib, or you're online, they'll start to increase the price of diapers on you because they know that it's something that you're going to need.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Manoj Tandon. Welcome to another episode of Dark Rhiino Security, Security Confidential. Today, we have another great guest for you. Got to remind you, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps us out. Show us a little bit of love so we can keep bringing you this great content, and it makes us feel good when you click those buttons. So without further delay, I want to introduce you to someone that many of you may know. He is Dale Meredith Jr. Dale is a cybersecurity educator. He's an ethical hacker, author, international speaker. He's been around the block for 25 years, long time in this business. Trained everyone from Fortune 500 companies to Homeland Security to military organizations, and has helped a lot of professionals understand cybersecurity better through his books, courses, and conference presentations. Dale, welcome to the show. Really appreciate you being here, and thanks for joining us.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. So excited that you guys reached out. I'm excited to get a message out anytime I can about security because of how important it is in our lives. So really, really appreciate it, the opportunity to be here.
We want to download as much data as we can in the next 45 minutes or so from you. So with that, we want to start with a little bit about your background. Were you always in cybersecurity or computer science since the beginning, or how did you land in this world?
So, computers have always interested me. Back when I was in high school, I was a member of the computer club, but not the nerd. This was back in the Apple II days. I was a member of the computer club because I liked playing games. And it interested me how computers worked. And as I got older and older, I found myself becoming a Microsoft trainer. And I did that since back in the NT40 days. Whew, right?
Whoa, that's a long
Windows
time ago.
3.1.1. Matter of fact, my famous quote, how like Bill Gates, I think he once quoted that we'd never need more than 640K as memory. Yeah. My famous quote was I was at a convention center or a convention going on, and Microsoft was there showing off Windows for Workgroups. And I asked him about it, like, what does this actually do versus Windows 3.1? And they told me, that ability to share information. I'm like, why would you want to do that? I mean, it didn't make sense to me at the time. But obviously, I drink the Kool-Aid, and now I believe in networking. I found myself training traveling around the United States teaching Microsoft products like the server line, not Word or Excel, but SharePoint, Exchange, just all the different platforms. The only one I didn't do was SQL. But while I was doing this, I actually started working for a training center out of Salt Lake City, and they were bringing in a subcontractor to teach the CEH, Certified Ethical Hacking course. And they asked me if I would want to sit that class so that I could teach it since I was an employee of theirs, and then the contractor, they wouldn't have to pay the higher prices. I said, yep, jumped in and realized that some of my background really kind of came through. I didn't realize that I was a hacker before this particular class that I took, because I was always, like when I'd go to a Microsoft, train the trainer course or something, I would sit there in the back of the classroom and I'd be trying to get into the instructor's computer. Any law enforcement people listening, I did not do that. That was a friend of mine. But I was trying to get in to get their information, their slides, their notes and stuff. What ended up happening for me is, I need to backtrack just a bit. Before I went to this training center, 9/11 took place, and I was working for another training center. And as we all know, training takes the biggest hit as far as budgets are concerned. Whenever there's an economic downside, their training is always the first budget. And so I found myself, even though being a senior instructor, I specialized like in TCP/IP and Exchange at the time. I found myself unemployed 2 days before Christmas. And I live out in a rural community at the time. And I decided that DSL was not fast enough. So I started Wi-Fi consumer company or internet provider and got into the infrastructure. It was really cool. And one of my neighbors, his name was Mark Burnett, or is Mark Burnett. He's a white hat for Microsoft. And he said, "Hey, Dale, if you give me free internet, I'll show you everything I can about security and help you secure down this network that you're doing." And that was one of the best things I ever did, because I started learning about, we fired up our ISP service. And I'm in Syracuse, Utah, right?
Wow.
I'm thinking, who's ever going to pay attention to me?
And this was with one DSL line.
Well, we brought in two T1s at the time.
Okay.
And so we had a 3 megabit, 3 megabit download pipeline.
T1 was a big deal. That was an expensive proposition back then, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was. This was back in the day that AOL was still around, and people were still, paying for that screechy box, that modem on their desktop. And we came in and said, hey, for $19, you can get 128K. And
hey, that's double the speed of what was the fastest modem at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were we were the fastest growing ISP in the state of Utah during this time frame. But I ended up selling that company off. I learned a ton. Oh, I was going to say, we turned on our router, and literally within seconds, we started getting denial of service attacks. And I'm like, that was my discovery of, I'm a number on the internet, right? My router is a number or an IP address. Doesn't matter where I'm at. So long story short, sold that company off, went to go work for this training center and got into teaching CEH as well as my Microsoft stuff, and just fell in love. Started working with Homeland Security, got into physical pen testing, which is one of my favorite things to do. And just took off from there. So it's just been interesting how even at a young age, or not knowing that I was a hacker, just trying to, I was hacking the games to try to get more lives and using an old ASCII program to modify my attributes.
Were you able to ever decompile one completely?
No. That's the one thing I should say that about me as far as like security is concerned. As of late, thanks to Manus, I do know Python. No,
there you go.
Because of AI, right?
I'm an expert. I've written a lot of Python code, and I could not tell you the first thing about syntax in the language.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me, is that, when it comes to cybersecurity, I can look and say, I can scan a particular piece of code and say, this is wrong, but I couldn't necessarily tell you why it's wrong or how they came up with it. Because I don't look at code and go, oh, there's the problem. So
I got to ask you, since you started in the Apple II days, did you ever hack an Apple Talk network?
No, I didn't have access. Well, I couldn't afford access, I guess. I had an Apple IIc was my actual first computer.
Okay. And
so, no, I never got into the Apple Talk. I wish I would have played around a bit more.
Since you've been with TCP, you've known the TCP IP networking for ages. What's the biggest flaw with the thing that still plagues us today?
So I look at security in a little bit different manner, and that is a lot of people are thinking about, when you think about TCP IP, my security hat comes on, and the biggest thing is that you're traceable. It's not that there's a flaw. I mean, networking itself, there's always going to be some flaws in the protocols and stuff, but I'm always looking in the aspect of how I'm being tracked. My device, my computer, my phone, wherever I'm at. TCP/IP is reporting back, or ISPs can very easily determine your location. I mean, when I run down to Vegas and I jump onto even just the 5G stuff there, I'm going to get an IP address, and now that's identified me as being in Las Vegas. And some people don't care about that. I'm one of those black helicopter guys that I just worry about the what ifs. And so that's, to me, that's one of its biggest flaws. I mean, yes, you could use VPNs, or you can use some folks will say, well, that's more protecting. I was gonna say like HTTPS, but that's more a security level on the site itself. But I do use VPNs whenever I travel. Like I went to Europe last year on a speaking engagement, and man, everywhere I went, I used VPNs just to kind of protect myself a bit. And again, not that I think that I'm in a Born Identity movie and someone's after me, but I just believe in personal privacy. It's one of the last things that we have, as people. But that's a whole nother story.
Well, I mean, I was going to add, I mean, do we really have when you go on the web, do you really have personal privacy? If somebody really wants to track you down, given enough resources, it can be done.
Yeah, and that's why the explosion of OSINT, right? That wasn't a term we used a long time ago. Now it's something that we talk about almost daily. I was just watching a documentary. It was amazing. Have you heard of surveillance pricing?
No, please tell us about it.
Yeah, so you and I could be standing out in front of the same hotel and schedule an Uber to go to the exact same airport at the same time, and I could be charged more than you because of my profile, because of what...
Yeah, I was thinking I'd call that dynamic pricing, but yeah, there's some organizations that do that.
Yeah, these data brokers, here's my not my oxymoron, but my catch-22, because I don't necessarily like government being involved in things, but this is one of those things I wish they were involved, because it's bad. Like, even if we were to do DoorDash, you're going to pay maybe less than me or more than me for the exact same thing at the exact same time on that app. And it's all based off of the data points that is being collected by this thing. The location of where you're at, based off of, what was the example I saw? If they've determined that you're expecting a child, which they can determine, data brokers can determine that, because all of a sudden you're on Amazon shopping for, a baby crib, or you're online, they'll start to increase the price of diapers on you because they know that it's something that you're going to need. And it's the ultimate of OSINT, because they've gathered so much. Kroger, doing some research, and don't quote, well, I'll have to find it for you, but Kroger is said to have up to 62 pages of data on each person that shops with Kroger. I mean, that's more than, that's insane.
You could probably build a partial psychological profile with that, knowing what they're eating, when they're buying. You could probably get patterns about their lifestyle.
Yep.
When they go shopping.
What they, and it goes beyond just what the data brokers are collecting. I'm going to use this example. I shop at Walmart. In my area, it's like, who doesn't? And I use the app so that I can get stuff ready for pickup. Well, think about what the implications of that is. They know what I eat, right? They know what I like. So if I don't know, if I keep buying Diet Coke, maybe the price of Diet Coke goes up on me if I try to place an online order. So the loyalty aspects of some of the retail places that we shop at, it's not loyalty for necessarily a good thing. I'm sure they might have some good features available, but they're also just, again, collecting data. And what we don't realize is that some of that data gets, again, gobbled up by all these brokers, and then they're sold. So your information is sold. Again, including things like, where you've traveled to, where do you spend most of your money, your income online. It's just crazy. It's like I said, it's something I think that government should get involved with, because without our knowledge, the majority of the viewers may or may not know, or listeners, I should say, may or may not know that information is being collected. And I think we have a right to know what's being collected.
I mean, I guess if you're using an app to place orders, or you're showing your membership card at checkout, or you're part of a frequent flyer program, that data, how I would expect that all that is openly available. I wouldn't even expect it to be that secure anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar to like social media. I remember when Facebook first came out, and I started going through and saying, I like this movie, and I like this book, and I like this music. And then it dawned on me what I was doing. I mean, I'm creating a profile. So I went back and erased my information, or at least that type of information, from social media. And again, granted, we're going to get, I guess the upshot is you get ads about things that you like. But the downside is, again, what other information, where's that information going? And that's, for me, that's the concern. I mean, just like the concern you mentioned earlier with the police scanners, and I never thought about that one. So thank you for that one. I'm going to use that. But that information going across is wide open. Well, what else is there out there that we don't know of, that we don't think about in our day-to-day lives that affect us financially and, well, I guess economically, same thing.
Yeah. Or it has so many implications. Like what does a background check entail anymore? So with OSINT being there, it used to be that they're running a criminal check. Now that's just part of the picture. If you want to know this person, you should be able to scan their social media. If you're hired a right company, you should know what this person likes to eat, how they like to function, what groups they're a part of. Because I think after our generation, everybody went totally online. Everyone started pushing everything on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it may be. All that should be fair game. And if you are looking for a job, or you're applying for a loan, or you're trying to start a business and your VCs and you're trying to convince VCs to finance you, it would be easy to go and really do a deep background check, I would imagine, on someone and really know a lot about them. More than they would have even imagined that you know about them.
Yeah. And I've got a couple feelings on that one too, because my wife does leadership courses and speaking engagements and stuff. And she used to be in the HR world, and yeah, they would do background checks. And it used to, like you said, it used to be just criminal records, and now it's everything. And there's a big part of me. What I do and say on Facebook should have nothing to do with what I do for work, or if a company decides to hire me, unless there's like a proven track record of that flowing in to jeopardize the company. But I've seen a lot of situations where people were fired after being hired just because of a post that they did 5 years ago that the company went through and scraped and found. And I'm like, well, who says that the person didn't change? Or do we now have to have two personas? One that's public, and then one that's, I don't even know how you keep it private at that point, though. I guess maybe create different social media accounts, and but then you're just hiding.
You'd have to just don't put your pictures up there, but then you're going to have to create a totally unique life. I guess you could.
Yeah.
Right. That's why that lends itself to abuse, and I don't think passing laws against that really changes anything, because people are people. Human nature is what human nature is. So they're going to say, oh, you said that 2 years ago. You can't unsay it.
Right. Or where's
do I know if you've changed? Whatever that it may be. Do I know if you've changed? Maybe you have changed. Or maybe you said something that was very controversial or wrong, and you went and got help for that condition, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But then you shouldn't have to open up your therapist records and all that. I mean, that's another. I mean, where does this thing end? It seems like Big Brother could get very deep. The smartest thing to do is don't post this stuff online. Just don't do it.
That's probably the better answer, right? Not to be so involved in social media. I'm one of my fears right now is I've got an 18-year-old, 19-year-old that his generation, it's part of their life, and I'm like, dude, if you post it, you're right, it's there forever. And again, I go back and look at things as far as as I get older, I know I'm getting smarter. At least I hope so. Until at some stage, I am going to get dumber as I get too old. But I mean, a great example is back when COVID hit, and we didn't think it was that big of a deal. It was, the coronavirus. And I did a post, I think, on Twitter that was an ad from the Corona beer, and said, the Corona team has arrived, just making light or jest, because we didn't know all about it at the time. But could that be taken out of context, 15 years later, 10 years later, 6 years later? Absolutely. So that's why I think I like your idea better, and it's probably one I follow more than I talk a lot with folks that post daily on social media about their personal stuff. First of all, we shouldn't be doing that. You can post about what's going on, maybe your thought on this particular situation, but I would be very leery about posting personal stuff, as well as, man, the photos get me. When people post photos and they don't realize what's in the background, maybe their street address or, the address of their house or their kids. That's the type of stuff that I think we really, really need to be careful with because, well, it goes off into several different aspects. I mean, the whole thing with AI and virtual ransoms, because I know you have a kid, so I'm going to make you think that I've kidnapped your kid. And the information I can gather about your child or your grandma or your, son or whatever the case may be, there's been some really serious cases using AI and doing that aspect. Again, combination of OSINT and AI.
I actually know someone that was a victim of that, and it didn't work. So they had this person's parents lived in India, and he lives here, and they said all kinds. The bad guys got all this data and said, if you don't transfer your money, we're going to kill your son. And you're talking about people who are 80 plus years old. I mean, they come from
Right.
a totally different generation. Their context on these conversations is completely different than your context or than what my kids' context would be. My kids would probably be like, piss off, go dial somebody else's number,
Right.
Right. They ended up paying it and they lost their entire life savings. And it was a number. And there was no way to get it back.
Wow.
There was no way they willfully gave that money away.
Right.
So what you're describing for those who are listening, it's not a joke. It can happen. And the mimicry has gotten so good, they can even impersonate that person's voice.
Yes. Here's your tip for you, because a lot of you folks may be thinking, well, what do I do to avoid this?
Yeah.
It's old school. And that is, come up with a phrase. I have a phrase that if I get a call from my daughter or any of my kids that says, Dad, help, I'm in jail, blah, 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 blah. The first thing I say is, what's the family phrase? Has nothing to do with Batman. It's all Superman. No, but it's a phrase that only they know. It's not something they post. It's just a blurb. And if they don't know it, then I'm pretty sure it's not them.
It's a great suggestion. What else should we be doing for limiting our available OSINT? Since you're an expert in that area, what do we do? Because you're right, I'm thinking about this. If you go on vacation, you post pictures, you can give away where you went, where you're staying, who you met, what you did. And if I was translating that, now I got demographic data, financial data. I got some psychological data because you obviously like to show off what you're doing. So there's a little bit about that. What you're wearing.
Brands you like.
What you like, what you don't like. I can then get that with stolen passwords and see if any of these personality traits translate into the way you build your passwords. I mean, we can go down a deep rabbit hole here. And I can tell you that I'm going to guess, Dale, maybe more than 60% of the time could probably guess the passwords you're using on your real accounts that would be of interest to us.
Thank heavens I use a password manager. So I don't know any of my passwords. I let it track, and that would be one of the things you could do to protect yourselves. I have one password that I know, and that is the master password I use LastPass myself. That is I should say we're seeing a evolution, which thank heavens, to passkeys, which is fantastic. Being able to use things like thumbprints, your face as a passkey or a device as a way of verifying who you are. Two-factor authentication is great. But I think the one thing that you can do is, and it's not going to be real popular, because of OSINT information comes from online, a lot of it comes from social media platforms. So my Facebook is only people I really know. I get invitations or invites all the time for people that may have read my book or watched one of my courses saying, hey, I want to, be your friend. And I deny them. Oh, I don't let them know I deny them. I just ignore it. And it's only family and friends. Now, that's not to say that there's still a possibility that my friends and family aren't as secure as I am, and somebody gets in through their their information and then pivots over to my account because they can view my account since they're my friend if they are able to compromise it. But it's just a matter of we have this tendency in society. There's two things we have a tendency to do, and that is we do things for convenience. Convenience is always the overlying factor for us. For example, your phone. When you turn off your Wi-Fi, you didn't really turn off your Wi-Fi. It's still broadcasting. And the reason why it does that, so that when you turn it on, imagine the first time you hook into somebody's Wi-Fi at their house. It takes 15, 20 seconds, right, for you to actually get in. If you had to wait 15 to 20 seconds just to get into your, like if I turned off my Wi-Fi because I'm leaving my house and I don't like driving around with my Wi-Fi just wide open. When I came back home and turned my Wi-Fi back on, if it took 15 to 20 seconds, my perception is going to be, this is a piece of garbage phone. And so they actually have it still broadcasting or listening for SSIDs in the background so that when you turn it on, it immediately snaps in. I actually have proven this point several times in conventions. One of them, I had some gentlemen in black suits and dark sunglasses. Not really. They were like really casual Gen Z or Gen X folks that came up and they were like, how did you do that? Because you showed up on your background. I actually displayed everybody's phones. And they go, you displayed our phones that are from our government agency and they're off. And that's when I told them, well, it's because they're not really off. And we had a whole discussion about that. And there's different ways that you can fix that. One of them is they're not usually popular ways because it takes away the convenience of things.
How can you do that? You can't, like on an iPhone, you can't take the battery out. In the old phones, you used to be able to just pull the battery out, discharge the capacitors, and now it's dead, right? But an iPhone, even if you turn it off, it's still broadcasting your location.
Yeah, so the fix is to get their security phones. And like I said, it's not popular because these phones are extremely locked down. They don't have an Apple store on them. They don't have a Google Play store on them, even though they run Android. A lot of cybersecurity guys will actually, and I can't think of it, it's called Black something, but they're extremely locked down phones because think about this device for a second. Think about what we put on it.
Your whole life's on it.
I have kids that don't have laptops or desktops because they just do everything on this.
It's a computer. It's a complete computer.
Right. And so we don't like that convenience of not having access to Google Maps. Don't think Google Maps isn't tracking you. It is, right? So like I said, that's just the solution isn't always the popular or convenient one. It just depends on how secure you want to be and what you're willing to live with. And let me give you an example of that. I have a fear of flying. I've gotten over it over the years, but on takeoff and landings, man, especially out of Denver, holy cow, Denver's like the worst airport. It seems to be windy all the time. Anyway, but I've accepted the fact that I have better odds of getting into a car accident and dying on the way to the airport than I do getting in an airplane crash. And that kind of helps me a bit. And that's the same thing with Dale Meredith, cybersecurity guy. Why does he have a cell phone? It's because I accept the fact that there are some things I'm going to give up, but I try to control it still as much as I can. Again, if I was to jump on my 19-year-old son's phone right now, I'd probably have a heart attack. Or even if I saw his passwords, he won't use the password manager I gave him. I'm like, dude, you're killing me.
Yeah.
So,
well, people will say the counterpoint is if you're driving through Death Valley and your car breaks down and there's no cellular coverage anywhere, we can still try and find the ping to your phone from somewhere, or we can track it down. Or on the new iPhone, you now have the satellite dialing capability.
Right.
But those are edge cases. That's the thing. You really don't have any privacy. And the same thing happens if you're using a wearable. If you're using your watch, Apple Watch, or you're using your Android watch or whatever, or Oura Ring or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I'm waiting. It may already be happening. I don't know for sure, but I'm waiting for the wearable companies to partner with our insurance companies. Because that would be data that your insurance company would want to have.
Car companies already are. If you sign up for GM's whatever they call it,
Right. Yeah.
And they got
OnStar.
caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're selling your data.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And again, I just want to know where my cut is.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd
If
feel
you're
better.
telling them this guy speeds all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife happens to have a Tesla, and it has the self-driving feature on it. And
Lord.
First of all, I'm kind of comfortable with it. It's kind of nice. We've actually have avoided 3 deer running into the road, and the Tesla avoiding it and stopping in time. So I'm kind of like, okay, I would have hit that. But I'm just inside, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know how much data is being collected about me right now, about my driving habits and being recorded by Tesla. Sidebar, Tesla has insurance, and the monthly insurance changes based off your driving patterns.
What happens if I take over that car, though, and say, you know what, Dale, I think you need to, you're not turning left here.
You know, I've had the auto driver turn right when it was supposed to turn left, and then I take over quickly to fix that. The nice thing about people coming forward with that type of information, and that's what I enjoy about some of those cybersecurity conferences, because people come forward with it instead of keeping it secret, is that then Tesla or Microsoft or whoever can make the fix. There will always be, when it comes to technology, there's always going to be the good side, and then there's going to be the evil side of technology.
Which brings us to AI.
Oh, is that the evil, or
that? It can be both.
It
can be both. Right now, I don't think it's evil. I think it's a lot of the fears are overstated. Let's see what happens in a decade, because there's a lot of fundamental flaws with it. It's not that hard to hack these systems into giving away data that they're supposed to not give away, or give away answers that they're not supposed to give away. I think anybody with a mediocre understanding of how to prompt these systems can do a lot of pretty amazing things with them. Okay. And that's speaking from personal experience.
Right.
But that also reveals there's a lot of limitations to them right now. So there's a lot of overhyping going on of what things are capable of when they really can't do some of those things. But I want to get your real insight from a real expert. What do you think about AI? What do you want to tell our audience about AI?
First of all, I think all AI companies, when you go to their website, their prompt at the very bottom, it says Gemini or ChatGPT is AI and it can make mistakes. They need to change that to will make mistakes. Because my wife laughs at me half the time because I have arguments with AI. Because I'm like, why'd you give me that information? That's completely wrong. Thinking that I'm going to win an argument with the machine. That's how dumb I am sometimes. But so it's not the all get all. As a matter of fact, I just watched it was on PBS, I believe. No, it wasn't on PBS. Sorry, I'll think of it here. But it was a documentary about Microsoft has actually pulled all their cloud accounts. They are starting to realize, we've always heard that AI is supposed to replace jobs, right? And it does. It will in some cases. I mean, the internet was supposed to do the same thing.
All machines do, Dale. I mean, this is a story as old as time. The same thing was being said back in the day when the blacksmiths came along and, automated something. And the steam engine came along and started replacing the horse and buggy. And the car came along and replaced the steam engine. I mean, this is a tale as old as time, but
right. And I think that there are some legitimate fears for people that, I mean, one of the careers that I've heard Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, he said the one career you don't want to go into right now, being the person that evaluates x-rays.
A radiologist,
because AI is doing a better job. And I get that. Or like an attorney, instead of them having a staff of researchers. I mean, think of what AI can do research-wise. But as far as killing jobs everywhere, and as far as security is concerned, I don't think it's a big enough scare. This documentary that I was watching, the reason why Microsoft was pulling Claude off of all their employees' devices is because one employee was not just one particular employee, but an individual employee was using so many credits, tokens, that it equated to, they were going through a year budget within 1 month. And it equated to 3 employees. And they're like, it's much better for us to have 3 employees than to waste our time and money on AI. And so there may be a little bit of a twist coming at us here, that AI gets reined back a bit, and that fear of the jobs. Again, I think that, and they always say, we've heard it a million times, it's not that the AI is going to replace you, it's that you're going to get replaced by someone who knows AI. And I believe that aspect. When it comes to hacking or security, again, love-hate relationship, because there's some great, I mean, my OSINT research is so easy nowadays because of AI. I'll put a plug in for hackerai.co. It looks just like ChatGPT. You can go in and say, do a OSINT research on Dale Meredith, and it's going to do it for you. It's designed specifically for pen test type environments. So that kind of stuff is of interest as far as security is concerned. Again, I'm not that worried right now, because AI requires us, human, to start something. It doesn't just go out there and do it. Now, I know we've got, like I said, I play around with Manus quite a bit, and that's pretty cool. The agentic version of that, where it goes through and just starts. I'm like, holy cow, I never even thought of that aspect on this app that I'd like to create. And then, of course, we go to the next level of general AI. That's where things, I think, might get a little bit scarier for us. But I don't know. When I was traveling around Europe, I thought they had the same outlook on AI as us in the United States, and it's completely different over there. Government is very much involved with what can and cannot be done with AI. Very restrictive. And I think we've got to, they always said the internet is the Wild West. We've got to get some sheriffs out there to help control it.
How can they regulate the system, though?
Yeah, I know
that's my question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice that they're involved, but once I have data in AI, I can't go delete it. It's part of a neural net.
Right. Yeah. It is interesting, though. I think something can be done, because it's interesting how I've gone back and asked AI certain questions, and it has a different outlook on what history shows. I don't know if it's just getting it wrong, or what or if there's been, I think there may be some AI bias by the people who've programmed AI or the particular models, because we see that come out as well. I mean, Google's Gemini was an example of that a couple of years ago, that had been done in such a way that the bias, what was it? They typed in, give me 5 images of the founding fathers, and they came out in different cultures.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so there can be some controls. And the fact that I can type certain things in AI and it says, sorry, I can't do that for you because it goes on, it's against what we're allowed to do. That tells me that there's still some controls there as well. But again, the next level, I don't know. I should say the next level of AI, I don't know.
Yeah. I have not gotten even Mythos. I haven't had a chance to play with it. I don't have any access to it. So I'd like to try a few things with it, but
and the other issue you bring up, it's a great point, is what can we do? Because the other issue that they're starting to see is that a lot of folks, I'm looking at it, doing my own AI computer at home that's not connected.
You can absolutely do that.
Yeah. And companies are doing that, but even to have an appliance, just like your refrigerator or your microwave, in your home, to have something like that in your home is going to be really, really cool. But again, look at the dark side of that. As a hacker, can I get one and program it to do what I want it to do? So yeah, that might be hard to stop.
Oh, yeah, does that open up a whole bunch of questions? But
I wish I had answers.
Before I forget, I wanted to ask about Dale dumbs IT down. What's the story behind that?
So when I went to that course, and as I taught on ethical hacking and started teaching ethical hacking, every time I taught it, I was teaching corporate folks, right? How to think like a hacker. That's the whole goal. Turn you into a profiler, right? Like a criminal profiler. And every time I taught it, I kept thinking, if only basic Joe Schmo knew. because everybody goes off and there's some new electronic device out there and everybody rushes to buy it and they install it without asking the question, what else can it do? What is it possibly exposing? I'll give you a great example. They're called black box TV. Have you seen these things online where you can buy a box? It's like $300. You plug it in and you get all the satellite channels for free, all the cable, you get everything, no subscriptions.
Okay.
Extremely popular. The problem with it is that it's made in a specific country and they have actually done some research on it and it's reporting home about your network. And in some cases, people are experiencing denial of service attacks on their home network. They're like, wow, my network's really, really slow. There was one denial of service attack that was attributed to a hacking organization taking all these different boxes and using them as an attack device. Darknet Diaries has a great episode on that particular situation. But again, going back to your question is, my fear is that people aren't aware of what devices do. They're just plugging them in because it's the latest and greatest and the coolest thing. Or not just plugging them in, they download an app. And it doesn't matter if it's pirated because they're getting it for free, but they don't realize they're downloading an app that has malware in it. So I think my biggest concern for folks is that we need to be more digitally educated about what we're doing online. Does that make sense?
It makes a tremendous amount of sense. And now I have to go read your book.
Oh,
Better yet, I need to get a signed copy of it. So I'm going to
yes.
have to figure that out.
Yeah, we'll get that figured out.
We're going to have to figure that out. That sounds like a great idea because I know a lot of people should give this out for Christmas, actually.
Matter of fact, I'm finishing right now updating my ethical hacking book with PAC-T, and as soon as I'm done that, they want me to update the OSINT one. So you may want to wait a couple months so we can get that one updated.
Well, then we'll actually get you back, and you need to give us the synopsis, or at least, I'm not asking you to give away everything, but just walk us through, get everybody a teaser of what's in there, because this information is so critical. That's why we in fact started this show, that people can get knowledge and awareness of these topics, and they can then go in and get educated about them, and that's how you become more secure, because cybersecurity is fundamentally a people problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? In fact, jumping back to the AI thing for a second, if you don't know, ask AI. I mean, hey, AI, I just got the new whatever app. Is there a problem with this security-wise? Or I just got this, I don't know how many times I've been doing this lately. I'll get an email and I'll ask Gemini, because I use Google or Gmail, is this a legit email? Without me having to go back and look through the headers and everything else. And it looks at it, tells me very quickly, yep, no, it's been spammed or it's been tweaked, so you don't want to open that up. So ask AI, folks.
Absolutely. Dale, the hour's already gone by.
Wow, that was fast.
It was way too fast. But I want to give you a minute or two to plug any books, events, talks, anything that you would like to plug out there.
Yeah, so it's actually Dale Dumbs It Down, but the IT is correct as well, because I dumbed down IT stuff. You'll notice it is, as of the recording here, it's offline right now because we're revamping it.
Okay.
But my goal here is just to teach people about devices security, put it into, I dumb things down so people understand that what they're dealing with, especially, when kids get involved and they want the latest and greatest. And then, of course, if they're interested in pursuing a career with cybersecurity, I do quite a bit of courses on Pluralsight. All my CEH courses are there, my OSINT, my Hack 5 Gear courses are there, as well as CY. I'm actually in the middle of doing YSA since the new version just got released. So it's definitely a career choice that is in high demand. Don't think that AI is necessarily going to replace it. It's just going to not amplify it, but enhance cybersecurity. I don't think that the amount of mistakes I see being made right now, I'm not that worried about it replacing cybersecurity careers.
Glad you said that. And that's a great place to end this. And that is, for at least the time being, sage advice. So There's a lot of people that listen that are interested in advancing their careers or investing in them or making a change. And AI is not eliminating jobs just now, at least in our field. There's still a lot of possibilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I look at, there was no Uber before the internet. So what's coming? That's what excites me. What's coming because of AI?
Yeah, we can't even imagine it. Who would have thought about Uber?
Yeah.
Now we have it. So who would have thought about all these LLMs? I mean, they were invented in the 1950s, but we didn't have the compute power.
Right.
The concepts were all there, but Dale, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. We could talk for hours. We'll look forward to having you back at some point. But thank you so much for giving us your valuable time today.
You bet. Again, thank you again for the invite. Anytime I can help out. And that goes with anybody. You have an organization that needs some help as far as talking, somebody just explaining things. Let me know. That is my passion right now in this stage of my life, is making sure people understand and learn to protect. Because what did G.I. Joe say? Knowing is half the battle.
It's half the battle, yeah. I didn't know that was G.I. Joe.
Boy, I hope I got that one right. That could be that old man thing that starting to forget already.
I don't think so. I think you're pretty sharp. Well, hey, Dale, thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you.